Humans are innately social beings, and belonging to social groups is an essential part of the human experience. These groups provide us with safety, support, and belonging. They help us feel capable. They help us manage stress. A strong social bond between dancers provides a foundation upon which can be built the trust, honesty, and openness that are essential to creating a cohesive performing unit. As dancers train and rehearse together, they continue to build upon these social bonds and, in time, can develop an intuition that allows them to connect with each other on stage to the point where their individual movements and energy become united as one. It is for all these reasons that the bonds between dancers become essential for the growth of the individual artist and for the group as a whole. Unfortunately, acceptance and social bonding are not things we can always count on. For LGBTQIA+ dancers, our sexual identities, our gender identities, and our gender expression can leave some feeling uncomfortable. In this, our third lesson on gender roles in dance, we will be discussing how our relationships with others in the profession affect us both on and off the stage. Thank you for joining us for part 3 of Out from the Wings. Was there ever a time when anybody felt like either uncomfortable or more comfortable being open with their sexual identity because of the makeup of the group?
Well, it's very helpful to be on a team, where you do have that support and that cohesion. And I really hadn't had that experience. I wasn't in sports as a young person. And so I really hadn't had that experience. And traveling together and going places, I felt much more at ease, more safety than maybe I would have otherwise.
Mm-hmm. Right. How different do you think it would have been for you if you were in a group and you had to have been closeted?
Well, that would defeat the whole purpose for me. Like I say, kind of in a way, maybe I'm acting kind of extroverted right now, but that's not really my MO. And so to have to hold that in or pretend to be different. I already had that fight in my life. I didn't want to have that fight anymore.
Right.
So yeah, I really was about being a bigger, larger, happier version of myself.
Mm-hmm. So being able to be out, being able to be yourself was a significant part of your involvement in the group.
Absolutely.
I didn't come out until I was an adult. So when I was training as a child, I was very closeted and I played the role. I always kept it all to myself. When I did come out as an adult and as a professional dancer, I actually had women who didn't want to share my same dressing room. I had women who did not want to dance with me. I remember being in a rehearsal one time and my director talking about the part that I was going to be playing, the role and everything, and where I was going to be and who was going to be working with me. And the dancer wouldn't come out onto the dance floor. And he'd go and talk to her, and she's and Barney comes back and says, "Oh, she's not feeling right." And it wasn't until later that he shared with me that it was that she didn't want to dance with me. And it bothered me that he did not stand up for me and say, "Here's your role, you're dancing with this person that I've chosen for." Instead, he gave it to her and switched us around.
And basically proved to her that she's okay to do that.
Right.
It's not okay.
And that left me feeling just very hurt, that I wasn't good enough, that I wasn't that it was okay to not dance with me. It was okay.
Just because.
Yeah, it was okay to refuse to share a dressing room with me. So when I was in the dressing room, I would sort of hide in a corner and I would very consciously look at the floor or turn my face to the wall because I didn't want anybody to think that I was looking at them.
No.
This idea that somehow I was, I had 30 seconds to get back on stage but had time to stare at another dancer's body was so insulting, so hurtful.
Right.
How important do you think it was or is for you to have the support of your fellow dancers?
I think probably the most, because no matter if you have, I mean, it's even the strength in numbers part of it, because and peers and people my own age, and different connections than you have with teachers. You know, teachers can say things that they know is right, but they don't agree with it or whatever. But peers can pull you aside, have connections with you, and all of that, and that's extremely important. And I had a really good friend who taught me to express myself, and that I didn't know how to do. I didn't know, and that going hand in hand with the teachers and like the mentors and all of that is great, but the peers is, even if it's not even, oh, you're doing great, it's just like, I'm gonna let you do your thing. Unfortunately, I in myself was restricting myself,
Right.
but I couldn't imagine what it would be if they were vocal about it, or even if they had the thoughts about it. I probably wouldn't be there. I probably wouldn't be in the world. So it's just like, how many dancers were lost, or like, for that. That's at least what I think about. Like, well, I was in probably the most ideal situation in that point in time, and I still had trouble.
What do you think it would have been like if you had to have been closeted?
I wouldn't explore in the same ways. I wouldn't. I just wouldn't dance the same. I would. To me, dance is a very much a mindset. So like, that mindset would be completely distorted.
In a professional setting as well with teaching, I feel like I try to present more femininely, because I don't know the beliefs of the parents. I don't know the beliefs of the students. And I had trauma at a studio where a friend of mine subbed for me and outed me in the studio classroom as the teacher. And she didn't know that the students didn't know. And it was in conservative Indiana. And I had students that were uncomfortable and parents who thought that I was going to turn their kids by being their teacher, and they made it into something that was gender-based and sexual, instead of me just being a teacher that cared about their children and wanted to teach them proper technique and like safe dance.
Were there ever fellow dancers, directors, choreographers, for whom your being lesbian was an issue?
100%. Yeah, I've definitely had that experience. I've been fortunate enough that outside of my teaching experience, I've never had any issues with anybody specifically, but I have also had like kind of a secondhand experience of once specific dancers found out that I identify how I identify, their comfort level with me in partner work changed. How they chose to give weight to me and what body parts they wanted to use within that partner work to share and give weight to me in the contemporary dance setting changed. Their behavior in the dressing rooms and how they interacted with each other versus how they interacted with me, they were like a lot more hidden and private. And these are people that are beautiful people, and they're openly loving and accepting of the community. But you could tell that they had this subconscious hesitation wall or bias, I guess you could say, about, or assuming that just because I present the way that I present and I identify the way that I identify, that I'm attracted to them specifically. And I think that that's a common misconception that people have. And when you're asked in the dance world to immediately have such a level of physical intimacy with someone pretty much upon meeting them, once they discover those things about you, it changes their willingness and openness to explore movement pathways as units in a specific way. And it's upsetting because it's not like you would actively wake up one day and be like, I'm gay, it's not a choice. So it just kind of stinks because you can't, again, collaborate in the ways that you want to. Or like, I know it changed my frame of mind as well, of like, I'm a lot more conscious of how I ask for, I guess, consent when it comes to partner work and what people are comfortable with, because I know that there are people that are going to be uncomfortable with it, and that's out of my control, and I'm not going to police myself in my exploration of movement. But also, I don't want, you're in a creative space and it's supposed to be open and it's supposed to be vulnerable, and within that, I sadly have to take on the responsibility of kind of overworking to understand other people's comfort level, one, to protect myself and my job, and two, to ensure that that collaborative space stays positive and open.
You mentioned like in your training that you did have to learn qualities of movements and ways of moving that you felt were, more masculine than how you just naturally feel you are. What do you think it would have been like if you had to apply that all the time and that you had to be like closeted?
If I had to be closeted, I probably would have just been a total introvert where people would have just been like, who is he? He does not talk to anyone. He says hello and goodbye, and that's it. He'll ask a question in class, but that's it. We don't know him. I wouldn't be the person that I am if I was closeted, honestly.
There is always somebody, right, that has some kind of a little bit of like opponent to like, oh, because my religion says this, I don't really agree with your lifestyle or whatever. But it has not conflicted to our dance relationship. I don't recall any time that, oh, I'm not gonna partner with you because you are gay or whatever. It has not come to that point. But there is been, I recall, just out of the dance feel like if you're trying to have like some kind of a friendship, then it doesn't match.
A lot of us, we kind of go through trying to figure it out and, trying to figure ourselves out and trying to figure out where our place is in dance. Like you mentioned, you didn't meet a whole lot of lesbians in dance. And part of the reason is that so many feel so unwelcome, they leave the arts because we are told this is how a girl dances. A girl is feminine, a girl is, skinny and, this sort of that ballerina-ish look where it's this long, leggy, little waif-like bird type of thing. And so women who are more built differently, and don't move the same way, feel that they're chased out of the arts. And also for transgender dancers, going through transitions, if you don't have company directors or teachers that are supportive of it, it can be very daunting. Now that you've heard how the actions and reactions of others can affect LGBTQIA+ dancers, I encourage you to take some time to reflect on how you or others you know may have experienced similar situations. I also ask you to join us for our next lesson, where the dancers will share their vision for the future. Thank you again for joining us.